Sindhuvyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, Adi Kanda Chapter 7, The Sannyas of Sri Vishvarup. O glories to Lord Gaurachandra, who is the Supreme Lord of Lords. O glories to Sri Vishvambar and his dearmost devotees. O glories to the illustrious son of Sri Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata. He is the life and soul of all surrendered devotees. O Lord Vishvambar, please glance upon us mercifully and deliver us all. Using the pretext of mirthful, childish pastimes, Lord Gaurasundar expanded his unlimited spiritual forms and his transcendental devotional service in Navadvip Dham. The restless Nimai tirelessly created mischief with everyone. Though his mother tried to correct him with sweet advice, he paid not the slightest attention. In the presence of good instruction, he created twice as much mischief. Whatever he could reach in the house, he would gleefully smash. Out of apprehension, the parents at last refrained from giving any further instructions. The unrestrained Nimai played at will, displaying his wonderful pastimes. The description of Nimai in Adikanda are like nectar to the ears. The wonderful childhood pastimes of the Supreme Lord Sri Narayan are described there. The Lord feared no one, neither his father nor his mother. However, in the presence of his elder brother Vishvarup, he became soft and humble. Sri Vishvarup, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was the treasure house of all divine qualities and a renunciate from his very birth. Vishvarup explained that the essence of all scriptures was the path of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. No one has ever had the power to refute his explanations. He was absorbed in Lord Krishna, and by engaging his hearing, speech, mind, and all other senses in the service of the Lord, he grew increasingly disinterested in anything else. While contemplating Nimai's unusual behavior, Vishvarup was filled with wonder. This young boy is not an ordinary mundane personality. His beautiful form and extraordinary behavior makes me think he is Lord Balagopal. I have seen him perform continuous superhuman activities, but I believe that it is actually the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna who enacts these pastimes in the body of this child. The magnanimous Vishvarup pondered this matter for some time, but did not reveal his realization to anyone, preferring to remain engrossed in his own service. Vishvarup was always found in the association of pure Vaishnava devotees, discussing topics about Krishna, engaging in Krishna's service and worshipping the Lord in devotion. People of the world have always been mad after mundane life, wealth, children, education, etc. When the materialistic people of Nadia would see the Vaishnava devotees, who are naturally disgusted with material life, they would taunt them. The materialists composed verses and recited them whenever they saw a Vaishnava. The renowned sannyasis, the chaste ladies and the yogis performing austerity will all have to die. Then why their futile endeavor? By our standard, a fortunate person has the means to ride on a horse or be carried upon a palanquin with 10 to 20 persons running in front and behind. You drench yourselves with tears of spiritual emotions while singing to your Lord. Yet we do not see any sign of your poverty and misery being alleviated. Your Lord will surely become angry if you continue to call out Hari, Hari so loudly and so often. The Lord's pure devotees felt sorry for the atheistic people who, being devoid of devotion, spoke in such an offensive manner. In every direction, the devotees saw people burning in the fire of material existence. Nowhere could they hear the kirtan of Lord Hari's names. Sri Vishvarup in particular felt great anguish over the absence of kirtan of the name of his beloved Krishna Chandra. If ever discourses on the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam were held, the speaker could never explain the privileges of devotional service to Lord Krishna, which was the real essence of those scriptures. The teachers destroyed themselves by perverting the meaning of the scriptures and speculating on the conclusion. Devotional service is unknown to such a materialistic society. Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu and the other Vaishnava devotees were overcome with pity and sorrow for the unfortunate living entities who were afflicted by distorted conceptions of life. Sri Vishvarup was depressed by the environment and said to himself, I do not like to see the sinful faces of the people of this materialistic society. I will go live in the forest. Each day at dawn, after a bath in the Ganga, Sri Vishvarup would visit the house of Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu. Sri Acharya Prabhu used to roar in delight when he heard Sri Vishvarup explain that the essence of all scriptures was the process of devotional service to Lord Krishna. He would leave aside his regular worship just to hear Sri Vishvarup's discourses. The assembled Vaishnavas would exclaim, Hari, Hari, in appreciation of the discussion. The devotees roared like lions in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness and felt the heavy burden of gloom lift from their hearts. On such days, no one wanted to leave Vishvarup's association, nor could he separate himself from the devotees. One day, when Sachi Mata had completed her cooking, she told Sri Vishvambar to bring his elder brother home to eat. Bearing that instruction, Lord Vishvambar ran to Sri Advaita Acharya's residence to retrieve his brother. At the Acharya's house, he saw the assembly of Vaishnavas discussing the most auspicious topics of Krishna Lila. Sri Gaurasundar, who is Lord Krishna himself, felt satisfied to hear the devotees glorify him, and he captivated them with his glances. Every line of the Lord's transcendental form seemed to defy the extremities of delicate beauty. The radiance of millions upon millions of moons lost their luster when compared to the effulgence of even one of Lord's fingernails. Bare-chested and covered with dust, Vishvambar smiled and addressed his elder brother. Brother, come to eat. Mother is calling you. He caught hold of Vishvarup's dhoti and together they walked home. Sri Vishvambar's enchanting beauty had held the devotees in trance. They stared at him in wonder, unable to move. The devotees entered into meditation, experiencing the ecstasy of Krishna Prema. Even the discussions upon Krishna Lila could not be continued. The materialistic person is unable to comprehend the Lord's transcendental activities of attracting and alluring the hearts of his devotees. This mystery is revealed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the matchless message of Sukadeva Goswami is given to Maharaj Parikshit. In a previous millennium, Sri Gaurasundar appeared in Gokula as Krishna. He roamed about in different houses in the company of his friends enacting his childhood pastimes. The coward ladies of Gokula were fonder of baby Krishna than of their own sons. Although the gopis did not understand that Lord Krishna was the Supreme Lord, they naturally felt more affection for him than for their own sons. King Parikshit was amazed by Shukadev Goswami's unequivocal answers to his questions, and he listened in rapt ecstasy. O Shukadev Goswami, what you have revealed to me has never before been heard in the entire universe. It is certainly the most extraordinary topic. Just see how they loved Krishna, the child of another woman, more than their own sons. Srila Shukadev Goswami replied, O King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality is perceived as the Supersoul, abiding in the heart together with every living entity. He is the most beloved Lord of the heart. When the soul leaves the body of the son, wife, friend, or relative, the family members have the body taken away from the house in a matter of moments. Therefore, it is the Supersoul which is the life of every living entity. That Supersoul is none other than Sri Nandanandana Krishna. By the inherent characteristics of the Supersoul, Lord Krishna is able to attract the affection of the gopis. This fact is applicable only to the devotees, for a non-devotee can never feel affection for the Lord. Yet, Lord Krishna also resided within the heart of Kamsa and other demons, so why were they envious and inimical towards him? The reason was that these demons had committed grievous offenses in their previous lives. Everyone agrees that the sweetness of sugar is easily discernible. Only a diseased person will find its taste bitter. The tongue is diseased. It's not the fault of the sugar. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, is the sweetest of all. Everyone saw the Lord in Navadvip, yet no one besides the devotees recognized him. Wherever he wandered in Navadvip, Nimai captivated the hearts of the devotees while performing his wonderful pastimes. On the day that Vishwambara came to call his brother home, he enchanted the hearts of the Vaishnavas. The magnanimous Advaita Mahasaya thought, this young boy is certainly not an ordinary mundane personality. I cannot fully determine the inner nature of this boy, said Advaita to the assembled devotees. Simultaneously, the devotees glorified his extraordinary beauty. Sri Vishwarup returned home briefly and then went straight back to Sri Advaita Acharya's house. Enjoyments of material life had no attraction for Sri Vishwarup. He experienced joy only in singing the glories of Lord Krishna. In his own house, Sri Vishwarup spent all his time in the Vishnu Griha, a room set aside for Shalakam Shila. He was unfamiliar with the ways of familiar dealing. His parents were eager to have him married, but when he heard of their plans, he grew morose. He was consumed by only one thought, I will leave my family and go to the forest. The Supreme Lord alone is able to know his own inner inclinations. Thus, Sri Vishwarup, the Supreme Lord, took the renounced order of sannyas within a few days of that time. With the name Sri Shankararanya, which would become famous throughout the universe, this foremost of Vaishnavas set out upon the eternal path. Sri Vishwarup's departure left the hearts of Sachimata and Sri Mishra in intense grief. With family members and friends, the parents wailed in lamentation. Sri Vishwambara was unable to bear the separation from his brother and fell unconscious. I am unable to depict the scene of intense grief and lamentation that struck the house of Sri Mishra. Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu and all the other devotees shed profuse tears in the unbearable separation from Sri Vishvarup. People from all classes of Nadiad society were moved with grief when they heard the news of the boy's sannyas. Their hearts broken with sorrow, Sachimata and Sri Mishra continuously called out, Vishvarup, Vishvarup, Vishvarup. Sri Jagannath was overwhelmed with the throbbing pains of separation from his son, and his friends and relatives tried to console him. Dear Mishra, please compose yourself. Do not feel sad. This magnanimous personality has delivered your entire family. If any member of the family takes to the sannyas order of life, then innumerable generations become eligible to live in the transcendental abode of Vaikuntha. The course of action your son has adopted is certainly the perfection of all education. We should express our great happiness for you, they said, as they held the feet and hands of the afflicted parents. Now think about Vishvambar. He is the glory of your family. This son of yours will be the scion of the entire family line. He will eliminate all your sufferings. What is the need to have countless millions of sons when you have a son like this one? Friends and relatives tried to make Sri Mishra understand his fortunate position. They offered good counsel, but failed to mitigate his misery. Mishra Mahasaya tried to control his emotion, but as soon as he remembered the wonderful qualities of Sri Vishvarup, he again lost himself in bereavement. I could never know for certain whether this son would stay with me or not, said Sri Mishra. The Supreme Lord Krishna gave me the child, and he himself took him back. Whatever Lord Krishna desires must certainly occur. The infinitesimal living entities possesses but insignificant power over life's phenomena. I therefore surrender my body, senses and everything to you, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Omnipotent Lord. You are my only shelter. Omnipotent Lord, you are my only shelter. Exerting true wisdom and being established in knowledge of the Absolute, Mishra Mahasaya gradually composed his disturbed mind. In this way, Sri Vishvarup enacted the pastime of leaving his house and accepting sannyas. He is the non-different direct expansion of Lord Nityananda, the original Sankarshan. Whoever hears the pastime of Sri Vishvarup accepting the sannyas order of life is freed from the noose of karma and attains devotional service to Lord Krishna. The devotees experienced mixed feelings over Sri Vishvarup sannyas. They were caught between elation and depression. Lord Krishna has taken from us the only saintly Vaishnava association we had. With Sri Vishvarup, we discussed topics of Krishna consciousness, but now he is gone. We should also leave everything and go to the forest, where we no longer have to see the faces of this sinful society. The entire population is engrossed in reprobate activities. How long is one supposed to tolerate insults inflicted by the vile words of atheists? Nowhere is the holy name of Lord Krishna uttered. The entire world is inviting its doom, drowning itself in illusory sense-gratifying activities. If the unequivocal process of devotional service to Lord Krishna is explained to these atheists, they reject it and ridicule us. What happiness have you gained by worshipping Krishna? They demand. You live in an impoverished condition. You beg even for your food, and your misery simply increases continually. The devotees uttered long sighs and agreed that they were no longer capable of living in such a degraded society. They wanted to go off to the forest. Advaita Mahasaya consoled each devotee, saying, "You will certainly meet with the highest of bliss. I feel a great acceleration in my heart, as though Lord Krishna Chandra has made his divine appearance. Go and happily sing Lord Krishna's holy name. In a few days you will see our beloved Lord Krishna right here. Lord Krishna will perform many pleasurable pastimes, assisted by all of you." Only then will I, Advaita, be known as an unalloyed servitor of Lord Krishna. That rare mercy which is seldom experienced, even by Srila Shukadev Goswami or Prahlad Maharaj, will be received by all of you. Inspired by the nectarian words of Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu, the devotees sang the name of Hari jubilantly. As the devotees roared with the repetition of Lord Hari's name, their hearts became filled with happiness. Lord Gorasunda was busy playing with his friends when the sound of Lord Hari's name reached his house. He immediately left for Advaita's house. When he arrived in the midst of the devotees, they inquired, "What brings you here, dear child?" Nimai replied, "Why did you call for me?" With his troop of young friends, Nimai then took off at a run. No one could grasp Lord Vishwambar's real identity due to the influence of his transcendental illusory potency. From the day Sri Vishwarup left the house to become a sannyasi, Vishwambar minimized his restless and mischievous behavior. Nimai stayed by the side of his mother and father to mitigate their grief in separation from Vishwarup. He restrained himself from playing, and while studying he would not leave his books for a moment. After studying any aphorism once, Nimai mastered it so well that when questioned upon it, he bettered everyone else. Seeing Nimai's extraordinary intelligence, people praised his parents, saying, "Sri Mishra and Sachi Mata are truly blessed." To Jagannath Mishra they said, "Dear Mishra, you are truly successful to have such an illustrious son. There is not another child in all the three worlds to match Nimai's superior wisdom. He will excel even Sri Brihaspati in erudition. He can present his own spontaneous explanations on any point, and no one is able to defeat his deceptive arguments." Sachimata was happy to hear about her son's wonderful attributes, but Sri Mishra felt morose once again. "This son of ours will never remain involved in household life," Sri Mishra told Sachimata. Vishwarup studied the scriptures just as Nimai is doing now. He understood that there is not a shred of reality in material existence. Knowing the essence of all scriptures, our wise Vishwarup rejected transcendent material life and went away to the forest. If Nimai also learns the scriptures, he will certainly follow the same path. Nimai is all that is left to us. He is our very life. If we lose him, we will certainly leave our bodies. Therefore, he should no longer study. He can be an illiterate child and remain in the house. Sachimata argued, "How will he maintain his life if he remains illiterate? Moreover, no one will give their daughter in marriage to an illiterate person." Nevertheless, Sri Mishra replied, "Surely you are the naive daughter of a Brahmin. You should know that Lord Krishna, who is everyone's protector, has created everything. He will give and take whatever is required. The entire material creation is maintained by the Lord of the universe, Krishna. Who has misinformed you that mere materialistic knowledge can help maintain anything? Lord Krishna is in complete control of everything. He even designs the matching of brides and grooms. Both the learned groom as well as the illiterate groom are given brides. Lord Krishna is the omnipotent and he maintains everyone. Whatever you see as lineage, formal education, etc., are simply semblances of reality. Why don't you take me as an example, standing right here in front of you? I possess sufficient learning, yet there is insufficient food in my house. There are persons who cannot even pronounce the alphabets properly, yet see for yourself the thousands of scholars who crowd their doorsteps. Hence, it is not formal education or other material qualifications that maintain us. Rather, it is Lord Krishna who keeps and maintains everyone. When one has never worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, how is it possible for him to live in comfortable opulence and meet death in a blissful state? By rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, we suffer the pangs of poverty, but we embrace death in a happy state. This is not the case for one who depends on his material knowledge and wealth. A person may possess sufficient learning, high birth, and enormous wealth, but without the mercy of Lord Krishna, he can never be delivered from the misery of material life. A person may live amidst fine sense enjoyment and opulence, but Lord Krishna may also allot him some incurable disease, causing him much misery. Such a person cannot really revel in sense pleasure. He burns with frustration, and I would say he is more miserable than a penniless derelict. Take note from this, all opulence is but naught. Even if one has great material wealth, one's future is determined entirely by Lord Krishna's desire. Do not bother yourself thinking about your son's maintenance. I can assure you that Lord Krishna will look after him. As long as there remains life in my body, Nimai will not feel even the slightest tinge of suffering. We all have Lord Krishna as our only shelter. In addition, why should you worry when you are a good mother and a chaste and dedicated wife? I impress upon you that there is no need for Nimai's studies. Let my son remain in the house as an illiterate. Having made his decision, Sri Mishra called his son and announced, Nimai, I promise you that from today you are relieved from all your studies. You may do as you like. Whatever you desire, my son, I am ready to provide. Just stay in the house and be fully satisfied. Sri Mishra left to attend to other business, and the Supreme Lord Vishvambar could understand that his studies had been discontinued. As the wellspring of eternal religious principles, Sri Gauranga was obedient to his father's instructions and did not attend school. However, the Lord was disappointed and once again took to his restless, impetuous ways with other young boys his age. Both in his own house and in the neighbors, Nimai smashed or squandered away whatever he found within reach. Even after dark, Nimai remained away from home. The whole evening he performed various pastimes with the other young boys, covering themselves with a blanket so that they looked like a bull. Nimai and another friend moved around in a most amusing manner. During the day, they had seen a small backyard banana plantation, and at night, dressed in their bull costume, they plundered the banana trees. The owner of the house raised a loud alarm when he saw the bull in his garden, but by the time a crowd was awake to remedy the situation, Nimai and his friend had already escaped. Sometimes they tied the neighbors' doors from the outside preventing them from leaving the house to use the outdoor lavatory. When the people inside the house made a commotion, Nimai and all would run off. Day and night the Lord of Vaikunta and his friends performed endless pranks. There was no limit to Lord Vishvambar's mischievous deed, yet Sri Mishra never corrected him. One day Sri Mishra was called away on some duty and Nimai started to feel angry because he was not being allowed to study. At his home, the pots used for cooking, Lord Vishnu's offering, were kept outside in a pile for cleaning. Nimai decided to sit atop of these contaminated pots. Kindly listen with undivided attention to this confidential incident. Devotional service to Lord Krishna is perfected by sincerely hearing this story. Sitting atop the pile of contaminated pots, as if it was a royal throne, Sri Gaurasundar glanced around with a smile playing upon his lips. The black soot from the contaminated pot spotted his golden complexion. He looked like a golden doll, smeared by dark, sweet-smelling sandalwood and agura paste. Several friends went to Sachimata and informed her, "Nimai is sitting atop the contaminated pots." Sachimata was shocked when she saw him. "My dear child, this is not the proper place to sit," she scolded. "Can you not judge between clean and unclean things after all these years? Don't you know that one must bathe after touching unclean spots?" Lord Nimai retorted, "You do not allow me to study. How do you expect me to know the difference between clean and unclean? I'm just an illiterate Brahmin. I am an uneducated fool with no idea about what is clean or unclean. I see oneness in everything. My vision is non-dual." After his speech, Nimai smiled from atop his seat of unclean pots. At that moment he manifested the mood of Lord Dattatreya, Krishna's incarnation as the son of Atri. His mother replied, "Now that you have sat in a dirty place, how are you going to clean yourself?" However, Lord Vishvambar replied, "Mother, you have an extremely childlike mentality. I am never situated in a contaminated place. Wherever I am, that place becomes most sanctified. Ganga Devi and all other places of pilgrimage naturally reside there. Clean and unclean are imaginary. It is a conditioned way of thinking. What can be the fault of the Creator or his creation? Let us assume something is contaminated according to social etiquette and Vedic ritualistic opinions. Then, if I, the supreme absolute purity, touch it, then what contamination can remain? In reality, these pots are not in the least contaminated, because you have cooked for Lord Vishnu in them. Lord Vishnu's cooking utensils can never be contaminated. On the contrary, they can purify everything and every place simply by their touch. Similarly, I reside neither in a degraded place nor upon a materialistic plane. Everyone is purified by my contact. After speaking the absolute non-dual truth, just as a child would speak on ordinary topics, Nimai smiled. By the influence of his illusory potency, no one could fathom his words. However, they all smiled condescendingly at small Nimai's speech, while Sachimata insisted that he come for a bath. Nonetheless, Nimai would not leave the pots, so Sachimata coaxed, "Come quickly before your father comes home and learns about all this." Nonetheless, Nimai was adamant. "If you do not permit me to study, then I will not move from this spot. I am telling you clearly." The neighbors turned to Nimai's mother and inquired, Why do you forbid Nimai to continue his education? Many persons tutor their sons with painstaking care. How fortunate you are that this young boy desires to study of his own accord. Which of your enemies has advised you to keep your son in the house of an illiterate fool? Nimai is not to be blamed in the least for this situation. Turning to Nimai, they said, "Yes, child, if from today you are not allowed to study, then you should certainly continue your work of destruction." Sitting atop the pots, Nimai smiled sweetly, and the fortunate souls who saw him floated in an ocean of absolute bliss. Eventually, Sachi Mata herself had to bring the child down. All the while, Lord Gaurachandra, looking like a beautiful blue sapphire, continued to smile sweetly. Nimai spoke the non-dual absolute truth in the mood of his previous incarnation, Lord Dattatreya, but none could grasp the import due to the influence of Lord Vishnu's illusory potency. The pious Sachi Mata took Nimai for a bath. Meanwhile, Sri Mishra returned. Sachi Mata told the entire story to Sri Mishra and lamented, "Our son is sorry that he is not allowed to study." Some neighbors petitioned Nimai's father, "Dear Mishra, we know you are a high-minded soul. On whose advice did you forbid your son to continue his education? Whatever Lord Krishna desires will always come true. Therefore discard all your worries and allow your son to study without anxiety. You are truly fortunate that your son wants to learn of his own volition. Therefore choose an auspicious day, initiate your son with the sacred Brahman thread, and begin his studies again properly." Sri Mishra replied, "You are all my dearest friends. Whatever you decide, I must consent to." Young Nimai's activities were all superhuman, and although everyone saw them with utter amazement, they could never understand their deep mystery. Occasionally, pious and fortunate people came to visit Sri Mishra and informed him of the superhuman qualities of his child. This child must never be considered an ordinary boy, they would advise. Keep him close to your heart with utmost care. The supreme actor of Vaikuntha, Nimai, frolicked mischievously in his own courtyard. Then, with his father's permission, Sri Chaitanya joyfully resumed his studies. Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Chandra are my life and soul. I, Vrindavan Das, humbly offer this song at their lotus feet. Jai Adikanda Chapter 7, the Sannyas of Sri Vishwarup Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sriman Sava Bhavana Das Ki Jai. Jai Srila Gurudev. Hari Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madanamahan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadara Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatan Bhattara Guna Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasara Guna Ejai Kusai Jamu Ejai Kusai Kuri Charana Vanda Jai Te Vignana Sabhista Pura Ejai Kusai Jamu Itaradas Tam Savara Parare Numara Panchaka Tam Nida Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanebas Janame Mohe Abilas Ejai Kusai Krishna Nitya Leela Leela Prabha Anande Bola Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Sri Guru Vaishnava Pare Machayama Sri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriya Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Narottama Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Gaurari Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Gaurari Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaurari Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaurari Nitai Gaurari Go Hari Go Hari Go Nitai Gaurari Go Nitai Gaurari Go Hari Go Hari Go Nitai Gaurari Go Jaya Sapaikar Sisi Kuranga Sundar Radha Giridhar Juki Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Nimalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Matsvi Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Rakak Sila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Sapashada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Sapashada Sima Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Chu Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai Sri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Chu Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat East London Chapter Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London Chapter Ki Jai Samata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Samata Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur
What is it?
Actually works today.
Yeah.